Random. I don't know about you, but do you ever do anything which is totally out of character? Do something which is totally away from what you would normally do, or act in a way that people do not expect? As adults, we'll often hear stories of somebody, a man or a woman, who has done something, and we'll be going like, no, not him, that couldn't possibly be. Well, she didn't do that. Never. And we start to make excuses for people's behaviour. Well, perhaps he's having a bad day. Oh, I'm sorry to snap at you, I had a headache that day, or I wasn't feeling very well, I was feeling a little bit down. He's like, I'm awfully sorry. Have you noticed I've climbed up a tree with a toy snake and an inflatable frog. Random. And we do things sometimes conforming to a pattern of behaviour, and we act in a way that people expect us to, and there are norms, and there's a set of people who there's a group of people who are kind of like planners. So they're the people who go to the supermarket with a list. They're the people who know exactly where they are going on holiday. They're the people who know the weight of a suitcase before entering an airport. The holiday is planned months in advance. And there's another group of people who are just like totally off the cuff. Where are you going on holiday? I have no idea. I'll just see when I get there. And they just pitch up. They're like randomers. There are planners and there are randomers. And we act in a particular way, and people expect us to act in a particular way. And if we deviate from them things, people start to question, or they'll say things like, oh, that was a bit out of character, or it was a random act. And we hear in the news about random acts of violence or random acts of kindness. The expectation of behaviour and the pattern of behaviour is what we live with and conform to each day. There's a story in the New Testament in the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 19. It's a story of a tax collector called Zacchaeus. Now, Zacchaeus is not just a tax collector, he is the chief tax collector. And no different to our own day, tax collectors were a hated species. Nobody liked them. They worked for the Romans. Tax collector, we don't like you, we hate you. Yet they were despised people. And tax collectors would bid for a contract for a particular region. So as it happened, Zacchaeus has the Jericho contract. There were contracts for Bethlehem and Bethel and Samaria, Damascus, all over the known world. And there were taxes for every single thing. And the tax collector would bid for the contract for that area and pay the Romans a certain amount of money for the contract. And then he had to collect the taxes from the people. There was a people tax, there was an animal tax, a grain tax, movement tax, carpet tax, whatever tax you can think of, the taxes were laid upon the people. And Zacchaeus cheated people and made more and more money. And one particular day, Jesus was walking through Jericho, and he stopped by a tree and he looked up. And Zacchaeus was up in the tree, and he said, Zacchaeus, I'm coming to your house for tea. Now Zacchaeus came down, and all of a sudden, all the people who were watching think, wait, he's going to the house of Zacchaeus. He's going to the house of a sinner. Jesus, he's supposed to be the preacher. He's supposed to be the Messiah. He's supposed to be the Son of God, and he's going to the house of that scoundrel, that sinner. And all of a sudden, people start to talk. They expect Jesus to behave in a particular way, as they had expected Zacchaeus to behave in a particular way. And he goes to the house, and Zacchaeus, in the course of the evening, then comes to a decision. And he acts which is totally out of character for him. And he says to Jesus, I've done wrong. Everybody I've cheated, I'm going to pay back. In fact, I'm going to pay back 4 times the amount that I've cheated them out of. All of a sudden, people are dumbfounded. What? This tax collector going to give the money back? He does something which is out of character, which is totally random. I wonder if over the next couple of days you've got an opportunity to do a random act of kindness. Bake a cake and take it to one of your neighbours. Offer to go to the shop and get some goods for somebody. Take somebody or give somebody an encouraging telephone call. Go and share a wave with them. Whatever it is, go and do an act of kindness. And people will be surprised because they'll be thinking, well, that shocked them. That act of kindness may be out of character, maybe something you don't normally do. When we act in random ways, people watch, people observe, people think, why are we doing that? If we're to ask any teenager, well, why do you do that? They go, oh, I don't know. And yet, people are expecting them to behave in a particular way. I wonder if today, I'm not inviting you to climb a tree with a toy snake and an inflatable frog, but do something random. Do something which is out of character. Do something where people will sit up and notice. When Jesus says to Zacchaeus, I am coming to your house for tea, the man who was a cheat, the man who swindled people out of their earnings and out of their living, said, I'm going to pay it back. I'm going to turn my life around. And Jesus responded by saying of Zacchaeus, today salvation has come to this house. He acknowledges what Zacchaeus has done and no doubt will do in the future. Go on, go out today and do a random act of kindness, random act of love, of mercy, of forgiveness, whatever it is, and act in a way that may be out of character, but it may be something that people will sit up and notice. Random.